Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to one and to all. Extending a virtual rose and love from a distance. This is just a brief broadcast to update those in the DMV, which is, of course, the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia, on a news that you can use health alert. This is specifically related to contaminated ground beef that was found in packages of HelloFresh meal kits. Now, if you're not familiar with HelloFresh, HelloFresh is a service that provides a variety of different types of meals that are delivered and sent to you by curated chefs. They offer several different types of meals to include vegetarian, children friendly, because we know how picky the little ones can be, and also those on a low calorie diet. They have ready-made meals to include sandwiches of all types, depending upon what you choose from the menu, soup options, and also salads, which many people choose. They're made fresh and delivered. However, in this particular case, in Maryland, the beef contained in the HelloFresh kits that were sold in Maryland had contaminated beef. And according to reports, which is in my description, there have been, to date, 6 people that were hospitalized due to the tainted meat, which reports state they were most likely contaminated with E. coli. And according to the Centers for Disease Control, at least one person in Maryland has been affected in the latest outbreak. So again, those of you in the DMV area, especially in Maryland, where these kits were sold, and I'm speaking of the HelloFresh kits, reports state that the beef in some of those kits were contaminated, most likely with E. coli. Further, a total of 7 people in 7 states have been sickened by the tainted meat, and 6 of those 7 people have been hospitalized. Again, this is according to the CDC, which we all know as the Centers for Disease Control. Now, when I do these reports, I look at other states as well, because I have those that listen from all over. And if you are in this state, or you have loved ones that live in other states or friends, you may want to pass this information on to them as well. Again, we are in fall. People are still doing their vacays and they're getting together, and they could be purchasing these kits and visiting friends or family. So it's something you may want to keep in mind. And as the latest, sorry about that, as I stated in the latest podcast, Seeds of Life, co hosted by Iceberg Thoughts, we spoke about expired items and plans. And I know that I mentioned about when I began writing down my plans, other items and ideas come to mind. And this is a perfect example because he also touched on when you're doing your kits to make sure that you check, especially your canned foods, to make sure they're not expired. And I remember adding to look at your lot numbers and check your news reports for any type of recalls. So this actually is an unfortunate, however, perfect example, a prime example about planning, because a lot of people don't have time to plan their meals, and they use services such as HelloFresh, and I've heard them to be very good. But when you're dealing with transporting meat and things of that nature, there's always a risk. Even with some of the foods that you prepare yourselves, if you're not familiar with how to separate, how to properly clean your utensils, especially if you're making foods or baking, there are certain things that you should do. And that's probably something else we'll talk about and add to the program about double sinks and food temperatures and things of that nature. When you finish baking, how soon you should put your items in the refrigerator, how long things should be left out, because at a certain degree and at a certain time, bacteria can form, which could lead to food poisoning. But that's just a little bit off topic, but it goes back to planning. So these following states affected include Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, and Washington. So again, those that are listening or who may catch the replay, the other states affected by the latest outbreak of contaminated beef, which the source may likely be from HelloFresh kits, which are kits prepared for those on the go. And you basically choose the items that you want. They're prepared, fresh, and delivered. Again, options include vegetarian meals, soups, and salads of all varieties. Hey there, Amelia Dixon. Good morning and happy Friday to you. I'm just going over this quick news story that has affected individuals in Maryland as it relates to HelloFresh kits that were sold in Maryland that were contaminated with possibly E. coli from ground beef that were sold in these particular kits. So again, briefly, to date, at least one person in Maryland has been affected in this latest outbreak, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. A total of 7 people in 6 states, and I'll read those states again. So those with loved ones, friends, and family that live in these states will be aware, and that is being responsible to reach out and let them know to be aware of this latest outbreak. Those states again include Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, and Washington. Good morning, Shonda Franklin. How are you? And Eugene, Real Talk TV. Good morning to you. Happy Friday. You're very welcome, Eugene. That's why when I see other states, and just because, again, as I mentioned, I live in Maryland, people have to remember that they do have loved ones, friends, perhaps co-workers, anybody that you know that could live in other states. It's good to know what's going on in other states so you could share this with them. So again, if you're familiar with HelloFresh, and those aren't the only distributors, there are many others, but this particular one I found to be interesting because it's one of the most reputable ones. So again, if you listen to Seeds of Life podcast with co-host Iceberg Thoughts, we actually spoke a little bit on planning and making sure that your canned foods have not expired. And I mentioned about medicines and expirations and also lot numbers. And then here comes this story. So thank you, Shonda. I really appreciate that. So this ties in actually perfect with that. And again, a lot of these food products are made fresh, and according to the website, and you can go there and look for yourself. HelloFresh.com. HelloFresh.com. It's a perfectly put together website where you choose the meals you like for yourself and your families. And again, you have vegetarian options, you have options for your kids, and they come with soups and salads, and a lot of those that are conscious as far as health is concerned, a lot of them go for the packages with salads in them. So this is just a good idea, if not previously, now for sure, to be cognizant of what you order. I know personally, I order from Whole Foods. If I don't go myself, I will order. And in doing that, you still should inspect your items. I purchased collards at one time, and I do not know who the individual was who packaged the items, but again, and this is something that we'll discuss to see how we'll deliver that to you, but certain food items should never be packaged together. And I could tell just by the texture of those leafy greens that may not have been a good batch. And Even though you have to watch your pockets, you have to be very careful of what you consume. And just because my gut, which is my discernment, told me this does not feel or seem like a very good batch, I had to discard it. So, the ground beef, and you should see it in my thumbnail, comes in a 10-ounce package. And if you're able to see the thumbnail, let me know. But you should be able to see it. Again, the particular package is a 10-ounce package. And the kits that contained this contaminated beef were shipped from July 2nd through July 21st. Again, the kits I'm speaking of, HelloFresh, they were shipped from July 2nd through July 21st. And this is according to the USDA Food Safety and Inspection Service. And the label on the package has EST, Edward, Sam, Thomas, EST 46841, next to the USDA mark of inspection. Again, on the label, it is EST or Eastern Standard Time 46841. And also in my description, on the packages, you'll have the codes EST 48641, L1 22155, or EST 46841, L5 22155. Again, all of those kit numbers, states are in my description. I'm just going over this for those who may be driving or at work or doing other things where they can't really respond, so I'm reading it. Many people freeze certain items, especially the beef. So anyone who received, and this is very important, anyone who received any of those kits from those dates I mentioned, which were July 2nd through the 21st, and if you froze that ground beef, if you ordered any items that contained ground beef from July 2nd to the 21st, it is suggested, it is encouraged that you throw that beef away. Now, it is suspected, as I mentioned earlier, that the contamination is most likely E. coli. Now, the E. coli bacteria is usually harmless. And again, the operative word, and it all depends on your health situation, and what you may be susceptible to, is usually harmless and are an important part of a healthy intestinal tract. Again, This is according to the Centers of Disease Control, and you can go to their website as well, www.cdc.gov. Again, www.cdc.gov, where you can find a wealth of this information. Some E. coli are pathogenic, meaning they cause illness. So again, according to the CDC, or Centers of Disease Control, some E. coli bacteria are usually harmless. However, some are pathogenic, meaning that they do cause illness. So briefly, again, those that have purchased HelloFresh kits that contain any food items with ground beef in a 10-ounce package with the USDA label EST 46841, it is encouraged that you throw that beef away, because it was reported that the beef sold in HelloFresh kits in Maryland are contaminated, most likely with E. coli. And the other states affected include Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, and Washington. And that goes to show how close all of these states are as far as distance and proximity. And as I mentioned, many of us are on vacations or staycations, whatever the case may be. You may be visiting friends, family, or loved ones. You may not have the time to cook and prepare, and that's what a lot of people do. They will order from these services, and again, HelloFresh has been very, very reputable, but there are cases where some of the items may be tainted. So it's very important, as we mentioned in the podcast, to sometimes check on any recalls or any alerts. And again, this is a perfect example of a health alert containing beef. I'm vegan, so I don't eat meat anyway, but for those that do, and I have relatives that do, this is important for people to know. Even vegan eating, as I mentioned about the greens that I ordered from Whole Foods, I could tell just by the texture and the way it looked and my discernment, something did not look right to me. So I discarded those. You have to be responsible and check and examine thoroughly anything you consume and anything you purchase to prepare to serve to your family and loved ones. So again, all of this information is in the description, and hopefully those that live in the states I mentioned, especially Maryland, you're more cognizant and keep an eye out on certain stories such as this, so you can avoid any potential hospitalization. And those of you that may get ill, again, these things can be treated, but it's in your best interest, if after consuming anything and you know your bodies and something doesn't feel right, to check to see, number one, if there has been any other outbreaks. You can easily go to, and I would bookmark, and this is just something I would do, the CDC, because they post immediately alerts. You may not see them right away, but if it's a bookmark, you may want to check it daily just to see if there have been any other reports. And if there have in your area, or if they're not in your area, just as you all aren't, pass it along. You may save someone money, heartache, and God forbid, heartbreak. Because again, we all have different issues. Some of us may have the perfect bill of health, others may not. And bacteria, viruses, they can spawn into other things. I get in wee hours of the morning, and on my way in, as I was driving, I saw a red fox. And when I got out the vehicle, I saw another one, which was 2 houses down. So I waited for it to scurry by me. So again, you just have to be cognizant because animals are carriers. There are things in the air, mold spores. But again, that's off topic. This is just news you could use. Again, briefly, those in the Maryland area and who may have purchased HelloFresh kits with any items that contained beef in a 10-ounce package. There have been reports that those packages of beef were contaminated, most likely with E. coli. And there are other states that were affected. So, with that, you all enjoy the remainder of your Friday. And let me go ahead and recognize those that stopped by. Miss Amelia Dixon, Miss Shonda, Franklin, Eugene, Real Talk TV, and yes, New Jersey. So you make sure you be careful and share this information with your loved ones and anyone else who may have been listening but did not pop up on the feed. You all enjoy the remainder of your Friday. Be safe, be well, and you know the rest by now. Be healthier. And I will talk to you and or see you virtually later. Take care and goodbye for now. Thank you, Shonda. You do the same. And anytime I hear any reports, I'll make sure that I post up for everyone. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hey there, Carl Belton. This is something good for you. And it ties in to planning. I'm not sure how much you heard, if anything, but if you know anyone in the Maryland area and you're in the DC area, there have been reports that people that were sold kits in the Maryland area from HelloFresh that contained 10-ounce ground beef, and that's on my thumbnail, were contaminated with most likely the E. coli bacteria. And those kits were sold from the dates of July 2nd through the 21st. Again, I mentioned a lot of people will freeze items such as beef. So if you or anyone that you know or sold kits in Maryland from those dates and froze that ground beef, to quickly discard of that. And again, there are other states that were affected with that, which includes, and let me go over it again really quickly since a couple just came in late. The other states affected include Virginia. Okay, no problem, Carl. Thank you for coming in. But the other states, really quickly, include Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, and Washington. And we are really actually 3 to 4 hours apart. So keep that in mind when you're purchasing from any place. My cousin gets a lot of her items from, I believe it's Peapod. She loves Giant. So I'm not sure if you have a Giant in whatever state you're coming in from, but again, it's just something you need to be cognizant of and staying on the lines of being prudent and responsible. Check your packages. If you're purchasing anything, some of those that are preparing your bags to actually deliver to you, they may not check the expiration date. So, quite honestly, even though you're having things ordered and delivered, you should still go behind them and check to make sure that what you ordered has not expired. So, that's just an extra added tip. So, Carl Belton, let me recognize you too. Since you're pulling up the rear, no, I'm just joking. You enjoy your day too, and I will check back with you all later. Again, be safe, be well, and you know the rest. Be healthier. Take care for now.